Hello, everybody, and welcome to Melanated Mondays. My name is Mia Kogavia, and we have with us Tim Craig and Donnell Cole Price. So, um, to start, let me give an intro on what BRTW is. BRTW exists to disrupt any and all oppressive systems that marginalize Black people using narrative and performance as a methodology to recenter Black people and experiences. With economic, social, educational, healthcare, housing, and political injustice facing our community, BRTW aims to tackle the issues that impact us while becoming a beacon for Black opportunity within the arts. Melanated Mondays itself is a monthly writing and performance salon highlighting a different theme at the intersection of Black justice and civic engagement. This program was made possible in part with support from the Brooklyn Arts Council, Alliance of Resident Theaters, New York, and the support of our community. This month's theme is education access. Tim, you want to tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. Education access is incredibly important to our community. I'm sure it has been in your news, on your newspapers, and in conversation with your families recently. But education access spans to many different things and many different aspects. It's not only higher learning for us. It's not only meaning of degrees, but it's understanding about and quote unquote being more literate about the world around us and how we can get more access to it. We have things such as the internet these days, but even that is a world that is continuing to be not as accessible to us as it should be, and not as used as a tool as much as it should be to allow access. So we have really three great pieces here tonight by Cheyenne Jovan Brown and Heather Harvey, and also one written by myself. They kind of elaborate on so many different aspects of education access.
Yes, and our speaker tonight is Michael Anderson. Michael is a researcher of the history of Black education. He looks at the political economy of education and its impacts on race, gender, and class. He focuses specifically on Black teachers during Jim Crow and their approaches to teaching and learning. All right, so stay tuned for the community conversation after we read our pieces. And without further ado, take it away, Tim.
Yes, this first piece is called Fluid by Cheyenne Jovan Brown. It's going to be read by Mia Gavia as Leslie, and stage directions. Donnell Cole Price will be reading Woman 1, and myself will be reading Woman 2.
Lights up on a nervous looking Black woman in her late 20s/early 30s. We will call her Woman 1. She is sitting in a room that resembles a lecture hall, empty stadium like seats all around her. Save for some lights at the front of the room where the speakers should be, the room is relatively dim. She occasionally looks around, checking her watch periodically, because the stuffy room is still with silence. The seats have old school desks attached to them, and open on hers is a notebook. She drums her fingers on the desk and checks her watch one more time. She is a fidgety woman who is always fussing with something.
Unfuck yourself. How provocative. A name is that for a self-help seminar? Well, of course, I blushed at first, and then I registered. I know, I feel like I'm at a crossroads in my life, and I'm not sure which path to take. Two roads diverged in a wood, and I waited for the seminar. I kid. I don't know much. I don't know which path to take, but whichever one it is, it's gonna make me better, healthier, stronger. So, I'm ready to get this transformation started. Let the unfucking begin. I'm really sorry. I'm not usually this high strong. Oh, who am I kidding? I'm a damn clothesline.
Woman 1's whole demeanor suddenly changes, and she morphs into Woman 2. Her lips are twisted, her head tilted to the side. She stares out into the audience with a face that expresses equal parts disgust and, "Are you fucking kidding me?" Woman 2 is more stationary than Woman 1, but she's very animated with her hands while she's talking.
Oh my God. I see what type of night this about to be. All right now, I can't be sitting here with nervous Purvis. This bitch about to talk me to death. I shouldn't even have to be here right now. I don't need no self-help seminar type shit, anger management. The real reason I'm here, I don't need that shit either. Only thing I need is for niggas to not test me every chance they get.
Woman 1 returns. Her lower jaw has dropped just a tad. She looks out at the audience to see if anyone else heard what she just heard.
Well, all right. You certainly know what you don't want. I respect that in a woman. I've always been more of a go with the flow type of girl myself. Part of my oversharing because I know you don't know me from a can of paint, and I just feel compelled to share my most intimate feelings with you so that you can probably judge me for it later. But well, I'm doing it. I'm gonna tell you something I've never said out loud to anyone. No man has ever chosen me first. I'm always the consolation prize. I've heard urban words test me too, but I figured if I made myself available to their needs and was flexible about their growth, that they'll discover that I'm the one that they would do right by me. But they never do.
Ooh. Well,
Woman
all
2?
right. You certainly know what. Oh, excuse me. Girl, they never will. If you let them, a nigga would treat you like an option every day of the week. And I do not play those games. I'm a lot of things, but a bad woman ain't one of them. I'm gonna spoil my man and make him feel like a king because brothers got it hard enough, you know? I only want reciprocity. And these last niggas who shall not be named, who do not meet me at the bridge, all I asked was for one thing. Don't make me look stupid. Simple. But no, nigga who shall not be named wanted to test my boundaries. He wanna be sliding in the DMs. And mind you, I'm not one of those chicks who be clocking her man's moves on social media. You like a pic with a fat ass? That's fine with me. But he messaged one of those girls and she was boss enough to tell me about it. I ain't tripped right away. I thanked her. And on this Sunday night, I was like, ooh, baby, let me run a bath for you so you can start your work week off relaxed. He was mad hype. So I runs the water, hot and steamy. I put a blood orange scented bath bomb in the water, knowing that when it exploded, it would put all these like red particles in the water. And then I got the red pepper flakes and I stashed them in the medicine cabinet. That I stashed in the medicine cabinet, and I sprinkled more than enough in the tub.
I'm sorry to cut in, but didn't it reek of red pepper flakes in there?
Mm-hmm. That nigga didn't know what that nigga didn't know nothing about that blood orange smell. Like I just said, it's a pungent scent. So ooh, thank you, baby. I love you, baby, Blazy, blah, blah, blah. While getting into the tub, at first he just looks soothed. So I'm like, damn, maybe I didn't use enough flakes. So then I'm sitting on the side of the tub and I'm just playful with the water flakes towards the target, smiling, and he's smiling, and we both smiling. And then I can't see it. That one solitary flake that was just the right fit for the right orifice. I have never heard a man scream so loud. He tries to get up from that tub, but there ain't no mat. So he slipped in and sliding and trying not to bang his head on the towel. And I just start screaming on him. That's what you get, motherfucker. You got me out here looking crazy like I'm some regular, degular, schmegular hoe. You out the left side of your right mind. And I'm going in. I don't even know if he could hear anything. I don't know that his eyes were, I just know his eyes were red as the devil's dick, though. And then when he called the cops, but they mostly just laughed at him, I was taken in because I had to be, but I ain't never have no record. So the judge just ordered me to go to some anger management, and now here we are.
Well, that was some story. What did you say your name was?
I didn't say. It's Leslie.
Get out of here. My name is Leslie. What a small world. You know, Leslie, you've spoken things I had the strength to even think in forever. That I haven't had the strength to think in forever. You're a giver, but you have your boundaries. I need to set those so that things don't eat away at me. I got a woman fired at my job. Not just any woman, like my boss was a woman in a top position at the company. I was so sure that she was mismanaging me. I wasn't growing, and I sat on the feelings for like 8 months. And really, I only told anyone because it started making me feel physically ill, like losing weight. Like I couldn't afford to lose weight. And my doctor was trying to put me on antidepressants, but I was like, no freaking. I finally told someone about her performance, and 2 days after I said something, she was gone. Now that she's gone, I feel bad because maybe she wasn't the issue. She was always so kind to me. Maybe it was that I had poor work ethic. I don't know. I still feel sick to my stomach. I took another woman down. I made it harder for all of us. I see you rolling your eyes at me. I'm rambling, I guess. I'll stop.
Only question I got for you, was she black?
No, she was a white woman.
Guilt is a useless emotion. And I so pity, and so is pity for mediocre white people. She'd have thrown you under the bus if the table was turned. And not for nothing, it had nothing to do with your work ethic. You was getting the least of everyone on your team, but you were expected to put in the most. Simmer down, man. You ain't got that kind of juice to get somebody fired anyway. She was incompetent, period.
Damn. I guess that's what every black woman in corporate America story.
Nah. We talk about your trifling ass right now. You still don't see it, huh? Leslie, our name is Leslie. You blabbering to me, but not saving this white woman, but you just left me to die? See, when you couldn't do it, I took care of this nigga who shall not be named, and you tossed me aside. I didn't make you look stupid, he did. I didn't make you feel incompetent, your boss did.
What the fuck are you talking about?
Ha, gotcha, bitch. Stop running from me. I'm not going anywhere no matter where you go, what we go through. I won't let you kill me for them. And if that makes me a bitch, or if the way I deal with people is ghetto, then so be it. You are my responsibility. Everyone will just have to fucking deal.
It's finally happening. I'm having a psychotic break. Oh God, it's happening to me. Just breathe. Leslie, breathe. You've just been under a lot of stress, and this is how it's manifesting in itself. You lost your man, even though you did everything you could to keep him, but you weren't enough. And you got this woman fired because you thought she was better than you actually are? You thought you was better than what you actually are. You're an imposter. You always overreacting. And you hurt other people because of it. You're overreacting right now. You're hurting yourself. Stop it. Stop overreacting. I cannot breathe. Oh God, Leslie, fix this. I'm dying. I don't want to feel like this anymore.
Woman 1 and woman 2 slowly become one.
I'm here. I'm here. I'm here. I am here. I am here. I am here. I am enough. I am enough. I am enough. Enough, enough, enough.
I stand before you, a survivor of empathetic Black womanhood, and a witness to the glory that comes when you start to extend your empathy to yourself first. We will no longer allow ourselves to drown in the ocean and give our dying thoughts to those in the bathtub. I started this seminar because I, like some of you, had dissociated myself to save others and was waiting for someone to save me. No one is coming. But let this experience at least be a lifeline. Unfuck yourselves. I carried you in my wounds. Did you know that? Salved you with the balm of my grandmother's blood. I did not know I was doing this, of course, until the salt water dissolved the layer of regenerated skin and you tumbled into the vastness, breathing and lapping me. I watched over yonder, waited to see if you would return at least your essence to me. And then I sunk, and I sputtered and soiled the baptismal waters with maligned cries of forsakenness to my God, when I should have lambasted me for forsaking myself. I drowned in the ocean because I couldn't swim. And with my dying self, so went my empathy. It tumbled to the bottom with a clear view of the base of your tub that just kept swimming, just kept swimming, just kept swimming. The me that survived had to answer for my sins. Who taught you to hate yourself? Who taught you to hate your innate prowess? So much so that you let others dictate your meaning in the world. Who taught you to put you last, anticipating that you would someday be first? Who taught you that you couldn't be both Black and woman, soft and durable, erotic and demure? To these, I had no true answer, but I will do better. I will not bind myself with the twine of your expectations, your disappointments, your shortcomings, and least of all your successes. For I am fine having survived so hellish a fire. I will not die for you again. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Again, that was Fluid by Cheyenne Jovan Brown. Thank you to our lovely performers, Donnell Cole Price, Miyako Gavia, I guess myself. The next piece is called Public Service Announcement. It's by H. Harvey. Tab will be played by Miyako Gavia. Amy by Donnell Cole Price. And the stage directions will be read by myself.
Waterfront condos.
Private beaches.
Private islands.
Oh, snorkeling adventures.
Sushi by the water.
Anything by the water. Even
handcrafted mayonnaise. This and more. White people nonsense is in danger.
That's right, Tad. There's a looming catastrophe, and this time it'll affect us. Everyday, normal, middle-class white Americans.
Just like you. Rising water levels.
Shrinking natural wonders.
And frozen human waste covering the trails up Everest. Fucking Everest! What the actual fuck?
Tad?
You animals.
You're screaming America. You're scaring America.
It's just, my Sherpa had to shovel the ice shit out of my way and...
It's okay. Tell me.
My iPhone died while I was taking a selfie. And I just found the perfect angle without him in it. Or all the piles of human shit.
human shit. Yeah. Do you see how climate change is affecting the life of this middle class white man?
This could be you. I am you, America. Some of you. But, Amy, you're America too.
Ugh. I mean, yes.
Tell them what happened.
I can't.
You can.
Okay. One of my favorite summer houses is like somewhere on a coast. And there was a hurricane and a lot of flooding. And Tad, like, I can't even.
You can do it. You're a strong, independently wealthy, #girl boss, and you can even.
A lot of people had like wet floors, and they wanted to get in my house because, I mean, I had like dry floors, but my house staff wouldn't let them in. And so the people talked about it on Twitter and it went viral.
There.
They
What did they do?
They photoshopped my face into a hurricane.
Look at it, America. Look what climate change did to her. This could be you.
I am you.
So next November.
And do it whatever other elections happen before then.
Vote for whoever will protect you from climate change.
You might have to vote to pay. I'm sorry. You may have to vote for higher taxes. You may even have to vote.
Blue.
But that man or woman
Probably a man.
can literally save the world and save you. Yes, you, America, from self-fulfilling on a mountain surrounded by smaller mountains of frozen human waste.
Or ugly crying yourself to sleep or watching your face photoshopped into a natural disaster. So do it for yourselves, America.
Or one day, that condo you're planning to leave for your son will be a diving attraction.
That was public service announcement by H. Harvey. Tad, read by Mia Kogavia. Amy by Donnell Cole Price. And the stage directions by myself. That one always gets me. The next piece is called Big in Japan by Tim Craig, myself. Grandma/operator would be read by Mia Kogavia. Joe would be read by Donnell Cole Price. And I will be reading the voice and stage directions. Big in Japan. We open on a wide shot of Joe's slow motion zoom in. Joe and his mother, Joe is in his modern high-rise apartment in New York City, sipping coffee and looking at his smartphone. Joe is on the phone with his grandmother.
Hey, Grandma.
Hey, baby. You make your eggs and sausage? Vegan sausage, as you say.
Yeah, Grandma, I got my eggs right here.
Good. I'm glad.
How are you, Grandma?
You know, blessed every day.
How is Tara doing?
You know she's a warrior, so she is adjusting the best she can. She's taking things one day at a time.
Good. That's good to hear. So how's Auntie Joanne?
She's okay, thank the Lord. They sent her home from the hospital, but you know she is on oxygen.
Yeah, Grandma, I know. I'm glad to hear she is out of the hospital.
What you put on your eggs this morning?
Oh, Grandma, I made a mushroom omelet. I put on some cayenne pepper on my eggs, just like you said, you know. And
Just a pinch.
just a pinch. Yeah.
Baby, I wanted to see if you heard of this billboard in Shibuya.
Shabu who? Huh?
Shibuya Crossing.
Who?
Tara woke me early this morning. She was waving her phone in my face, and I was telling her, grown folk don't wake up just like this, sweetheart. Anywho, she was showing me a picture of myself that was on the other side of the world in Japan. It's a big old picture at the Shibuya crossing. Hold on, Joey. Tara, where you say this picture's from that you showed me earlier? Shibuya crossing.
What the fuck is Shibuya crossing?
Egg boy, watch your mouth.
Sorry, Grandma. Shibuya?
Joe begins to do a search on his phone. He types in to Google search, Shibuya crossing. It appears.
Shibuya crossing. Tokyo, Japan. What the fuck?
What did I just say, Joey?
Sorry, Grandma. What exactly are you talking about? Like what billboard?
Tara says there is a billboard on top of me and you, up of me and you at TT house for her birthday.
You mean I was like 4?
Yeah, you know the one. You run in and I'm about to pick you up.
Hold on. Tara has been reading 1-2 minute mangas. What?
I'm going to get her to text it to you. Stay on the phone.
Joe gets a message. It is the exact image that he and his grandmother. His grandmother is sitting on the couch, and a young Joe is running into his grandmother's arms.
Grammy, I don't think this is real. This can't be real. Who made this?
I thought the same thing at first, but Tara, you know she is into the Asian culture, and she says some friends here in Japan have seen it with their own eyes.
Joe begins more research. He sees the images of the Como des Garçons advertisements. It is indeed a photo of him and his grandmother. Joe drops the vegan egg that is hanging from his mouth onto the floor.
You there, baby? You see what she's talking about?
Grandma, why are we in the middle of Tokyo?
That's why I'm calling you.
I don't know, Grandma. This is crazy.
Well, how did the pictures even get on the internet, baby?
I guess I took a picture of it, uploaded it when I was back home, Google Photos, my iCloud.
Scene 2. Interior, New York apartment. Joe is sitting on his couch. He has his phone on speaker. The phone is ringing on the other end. Joe is reaching the end of his patience. Stan Getz' The Girl from Ipanema plays in the background.
Representative.
One moment. Please note that this call may be recorded for quality insurance purposes. Joe is still waiting on his couch in his robe. Joe is still listening to Stan Getz' The Girl from Ipanema. The frustration from Joe's forehead begins to ease. At that moment, a voice. It sounds like it just woke up.
Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, what's good?
Hello, is this customer service for Google Photos?
Oh, you're looking for photos.
Huh? Look, I need to speak to someone over at Google right away, please.
Damn, brother. Hold your horses. We go get there. First, you gotta help me know where we going.
I don't know. That's why I called. I need some assistance.
What's up?
Well, there's an image of my grandma, myself and my grandma, taken at her house that seems to be presented at large scale on the other side of the world. And I wonder how I got there.
Oh, what exactly do you want us to do?
What?
What do you want us to do?
This is Google customer service.
That's what you called for, ain't it, bro?
Yes.
So what's up?
Will you put me through to a representative I can speak to?
That's me.
You gonna help me?
As soon as you finish with all this bullshit, I guess that's the best I got. So what's up?
Okay. Can you hold for a second?
A moment.
You good?
Yeah, I'm good. Where are you from?
Where am I from? I'm from your phone, brother. I don't exist, man. You were talking to AI, bruh. I don't have a place of being from. I'm formless. You feel me? Now, what's good? Why are you on the phone? What's your issue?
I, I need to know why there is a huge photo of my 4-year-old self and my grandmother hanging in Shibuya crossings in Tokyo, Japan. This has to violate some kind of privacy, right?
I see. I feel you. Let's see what's up with that.
Thank you.
Give me a second to calibrate.
Bet. Take your time.
A moment.
Shit, bro. You catch that Ravens game?
What? Hell yeah. Lamar went for 3,500.
I'm telling you. They want it in Baltimore these days, bro. They playing.
Crazy though. My Giants choked though.
Yeah? Yeah, right in the fourth, too.
Don't remind me.
Speaking of reminding me, I have what you're looking for. I guess some intern in the offices of Como des Garçons was scrolling through around 4:42 a.m. because she couldn't sleep because of a recent breakup with her much older boyfriend. She found you through the Instagram hashtag and found your Google Photos accounts. Ooh, ew, ooh.
What?
Mama low-key hacked that bitch and took a screenshot. It appears again in an iCloud dashboard of one Adrian Joff. The image appears again in Shibuya Crossing. It was completed at 10:48 p.m. on September 23rd, 2024 for the Como des Garçons BU campaign with intent to propel their 2024 fall collection.
What? Who the fuck is Adrian Joff?
The CEO of Como des Garçons. You know, they rocking the hearts on the sweater. I guess they got your heart on the billboard, bro.
This can't be possible. Myself nor my grandma gave consent to this at all.
I feel you, boss. This shit is wild. Y'all look like y'all having a good time though.
This is not okay with me and my family. I didn't give any permission to use this as an advertisement on the other side of the world.
I could understand that these series of events could be perceived as unfortunate. Here's the whammy, homie. You gave permission for this photo to be redistributed on March 6, 2006. When you first downloaded the Google Photos application, version 2.32, the account connected to maryville.edu, correct? I think you were in the library trying to holler at Keisha from orientation.
We teleport to memory of Keisha's smile and her fragrance. Joe and Keisha are sitting in front of two computers in an empty computer lab. Joe remembers clicking accept terms and agreements. Camera teleports back to Joe's modern high-rise apartment.
Oh shit, Keisha.
Yeah, bruh, Keisha.
I don't want this image to be in Shibuya Crossing. My photos, my pictures are my pictures. How do I fix this?
Well, according to your user license agreement, which gave us as in Google, permission, we have had ownership of it for over 10 years now. I guess some folks in Japan got creative. Grammy on the billboards now. How's she doing?
She doing, oh, wait, back up. So because I accepted the terms and conditions, that's the reason me and my Grammy are chilling on the other side of the globe?
Basically, your acceptance of these terms and conditions gives global licensing to the planet Earth, to us. So it's up to us. I think you beefing with this design agency, but according to our agreement, you let it go a long time ago, bro.
Wait, I didn't agree to that.
You probably were not conscious that you were agreeing to it, but you agreed.
I'm gonna get my lawyers on this. You can't do this.
I feel you. Call the law, but they're going to tell you the same thing. I'm required to remind you that I am not you. You are again implying that I exist. I'm just here to help a brother out.
Look, I should be able to agree to my own terms and conditions.
I feel you. But over here, it's all or nothing, cuz. Ride or die. I'm programmed to try to explain to you the best way I can. So here's the thing. You accepted these terms and conditions for using this application. This is low key a contract. You literally accept it every day.
End scene. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to the reading part of our program. So now we're going to jump over to the community conversation. So give us 1 second. We're going to pause the recording, and then when we come right back, we're going to get started. Hi, welcome back. So we're so grateful to Michael Anderson for joining us for this month's Melanated Monday. Michael, thank you so much for your time. Alongside being a researcher, Michael also writes, teaches, and talks about critical media literacy. So to all of our lovely people here today, I want to say, feel free to speak your mind, Michael. Feel invited to add on to this introduction. And we'd also love to know what led to your focus on equity in education in your work.
Oh, yeah. Thank you all for having me. Focus on equity in the work. The intro is fine. Yeah, I think education is, it's so funny. I was just listening to a podcast and I was just reading this book. It's called Education and Capitalism. And I think there's this misconception that education is the great equalizer, for all of us, and that education alone, the part of the neoliberal myth is that education will, getting good grades and the like, and going to school and getting good degrees will bring people out of poverty in and of itself, right? Because those people tend to have drive and those people tend to have a self-perseverance that you need to become successful in life. And education is the foundation of those things. There's a long history of that myth being, used to exploit, people and justify societal inequity via these individualistic respectability politics, responsibility politics approach to literal economics and capitalism. It doesn't work like that. So educational equity for me just means that we need to look at education as a tool. Part of what I study is, like you said, is critical media literacy. And one of the things that I look at education as is a form of media in and of itself. So education is just like a movie, just like a newsreel, just like a book that you read in a bookstore. All of these things are media. And one of the biggest media is the plural of the word medium, right? So just any medium through which we have mass communication is media.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my favorite intellectuals, guerrilla intellectuals, Rodney, what's his name? I'm wilding out right now. Rodney, what? This is wild. Walter Rodney. Walter Rodney calls education and the media of education. He uses those words, explicitly in one of his essays. So if we have media tools, right, to examine a play, if we have media tools to examine a television episode, if we have media tools to examine, how corporate-owned news media is, misleading the public, and we have media tools to look at an advertisement, we can use those same analytical tools to look at our education system, which is one of our biggest sources of mass media, mass communication, from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. We can do the same thing. So once we do that, then we can start asking bigger questions. what is the purpose of education, in terms of the reproduction of class stratification, class exploitation, racial hierarchy, and, basically indoctrinating folks into the dominant ideology of the state, you know. And what avenues do we have, and what avenues have we seen historically that can undo a lot of that uh, oppressive hegemony and create a different type of liberatory hegemony in the context of the educational space. So education, media, culture, history, these things are all kind of the same thing for me. I think we separate them. And so I have to go to a school. And so I have to go to a department, and that department is the Department of Education. We can't, I'm definitely in everything I bring up. I'm going to bring up rap music because that was my first form of education. I'm going to bring up the state. I'm going to bring up policy. I'm going to bring up all these other things outside of education that scholars like Eve Ewing talks about that are definitely influencing the inequities that we see within a classroom. Full stop.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Michael. Really appreciate that answer. You've kind of touched on these just now, so we thank you. But I guess our next question would be education and liberation kind of always goes hand in hand. Yet our understanding of higher education has always been limited to institutions that uphold racist ideologies and or were founded on colonialism. What does education for liberation look like within and outside of these institutions?
Yeah, and great question. Thank you, Tim. Oh gosh. Yeah, so I think it's important to look at the history of higher education, and specifically Black higher education, and how a lot of the institutions that we care about, Howard, specifically Tuskegee, and specifically Hampton University, were created by the Tuskegee, the Hampton Tuskegee model, which was industrial education over classic education. What they call the classical education at the turn of the century, and during Reconstruction, they were having this big debate, as a lot of you probably know, big figures in that time period, Anna Julia Cooper, Du Bois, Booker T. Washington. But you have these external philanthropic hands that are sort of like puppet masters of the educational game, that are basically funding these Black schools with a certain profit motive in mind, right? So you're seeing the Rockefellers, you're seeing people like the Carnegies, you're seeing people like George Peabody, you're seeing people like the owners of the Slater Fund fund these schools with caveats like, hey, we're going to give you all this money, specifically Black normal schools. For those of you who don't know what normal schools are, those are schools where teachers are created. They used to be called, now it's called teacher education schools or teachers graduate schools for education, but they used to be called normal schools. So, you have Texas A&M, before schools would be called like Texas N&I, like normal and industrial. At the normal school, we're going to teach teachers who are going to eventually teach the students an industrial form of education that's sort of subservient to white supremacy, yada, 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 yada. That comes all the way down to today with just different players. You have Mark Zuckerberg, you have the Gates Foundation, you have all of these people who, as my homegirl, I want to say not Nicole. She has this book called Cutting School, where she basically draws the through line throughout the 20th century of these philanthropists pouring down money into these institutions. And I think it's timely that yesterday, the Ford Foundation, which has been integral to funding Black studies with some caveats for the past 50 years, they decided to take their bag out of higher education and put it towards social movements. So we'll see how that goes. But there's always been pushbacks. There's always been counter spaces for education. One of the places that I talk about a lot is the Sojourners for Truth and Justice, which was an organizing space that included a lot of Black communist radicals, notably Claudia Jones during the mid-century era. They basically pushed a proto-feminist, proto-Black feminist lens in an educational space. Another space that I think about a lot is the Jefferson School of Social Science in New York, situated in Harlem, I believe, during, and it started out, I don't remember the start date, but it's around the 40s and the 50s that it's operating at its highest. And it's basically bringing in adult workers. They're having night schools. They're having conversations about race and class. They're talking about imperialism, obviously. They're teaching people about communism. They're teach people Spanish. They're having classes in different languages. They're doing so many things that we see as like progressive education models for today. And this is for adults, right? And also things are happening within schools. So we understand that like these leaders of these decolonial leaders that go back to Africa, to start these decolonial movements in their own countries, Ghana being an example, Nigeria being an example, Kenya. These people were educated at some HBCUs here. So there's opportunities for radicalism in these extremely conservative HBCU environments that we've seen. And I think Robin Kelly and Fred Moten, in their books, they talk a lot about these alternative spaces of fugitivity that counter these official higher educational spaces. I've heard Robin Kelly talk about the communiversity that people have tried to start up. So y'all could Google that one. But generally, just like the idea with Black studies was that the university was supposed to be gown in town. So the gown was the university, the town was the people. And our job when we were integrating or demanding our spot in the late 60s and early 70s into these universities was not to become the dean, was not to become, safely situated within the halls of academia. It was to grab as many resources as possible, bring them back to the community, right? While you're there, maybe open up the cafeteria for the poor people within the town, maybe open up the library so it's public, right? But don't like get distracted and think like the goal is to stay here and be comfortable. Right now, the whole DEI thing is like, oh, we need to have a seat at the table, and that seat at the table has to be warm and it has to have a cushion. No, the people who were advocating for Black studies and Black enrollment in 1968, they were like, hey, these schools, Rutgers, Harvard, Princeton, Stanford, these schools are the intellectual arm of imperialism. That's what we're dealing with. We're not trying to hug them. We're trying to squeeze them for the resources, right? And now I think things have gotten combobulated. So there's always been places of study. I'm going to stop right there. Sorry, Tim.
Oh, Tim, you're muted.
I feel you. Thank you so much, Michael. I have so much to Google. Communiversity. Such a interesting concept. And also, I never even knew that there was the Jefferson School of Social Sciences, especially being a New York resident. So I have to really check into that. I thank you so much. That's incredibly helpful to learn and understand. And I agree with you. It's like so interesting, industrial versus classical. I tend to forget to even think about that sensibility. Anybody else have a response or want to chime in?
I just wanted to say, I guess like the you said classical schools versus like the industrials. I kind of ran across that while studying sociology in undergrad, but I found out about it on a high school level. So, I mean, even just still here around, geographically, I'm in Birmingham at the moment where my mom's from. And like Fairfield High School, back in the day, it was a really, really nice industrial area. Well, you had Fairfield High School, and you also had Fairfield Industrial High School, which was where the Black people went. My grandma went to high school there. She's like, nearly 90 now. And it was just, like you said, it was institutionally supposed to kind of serve a different purpose. No one talks about that stuff. No one.
Bingo.
We don't talk about it.
Thank you for that, Donnell. That was a reminder for me, big time. I know Fairfield well. Michael, how much can we look to our past to reimagine education access? What can we look to from our predecessors and ancestors in education for liberation?
Yeah, I think one of the key parts of the question, the key words of the question was access. So it's like, I think a lot of the times the push is for access. The push is for the opportunity. And that is, to be just quite frank, a neoliberal rendering of the situation at hand. What we don't want is access. We want liberation, right? There's a confluence with access and liberation. There's a lot of people who get the access and become Kamala Harris and become Barack Obama and bomb people. So we don't want just access. We want resources. We want the ability to self-determine our futures, right? And we want educational spaces that are going to give us the knowledge and the curriculum and the skill sets that are going to foster that. That's not necessarily an issue of access. That's an issue of revolution. You can have access to anti-revolutionary spaces. It's not going to do much. So I think people had that clarity of thought with the Black Panther schools, where they opened up the Liberation Academies, specifically the Oakland Community Schools, back in 1969. And they made sure, like, okay, we're going to learn English. We're going to have access, but we're going to write letters to prisoners, political prisoners, to learn our English. If we're going to have math problems, we're going to have math problems. That's okay. One comrade gives an apple to another comrade. It's going to be inherent. It's going to be in the songs that we sing. It's going to be in how we bring in the community members here. It's how we fund the education that we need. So there is this push for inclusion that obviously happens post Brown versus Board of Education, that is really taken up by Generation X, of just a class of Black people that really got integration. I won't call it integration, I'll call it desegregation, because we didn't really get integration. They really honed in. And I want to say they is not everybody, but a specific Black middle class structure that bell hooks in all of her books to make sure to remind us that people were left out of those people. So they really honed in on this inclusion thing, right? And this access thing. And then you have, during the Reagan administration, he puts out this big influential article. The Reagan administration, they put out this article called The Nation at Risk, which is examining the educational and racial dynamics at the time. And they're like, oh my God, there's all these at-risk youth, It's like, no, you're defunding schools. Stop doing that. You will see a lot less. So I think, the history tells us that the work that has been most revolutionary has come from us. The flow of knowledge has come from the street corner, from the Black bookstore, from the Black library, from the all Black classroom to the university. We gave them the theories. Intersectionality, all of that, that's the Combahee River Collective, 1970s, right? Mm-hmm. We gave them that. And now it's like, oh, school is for, theory and all that. That's for grad students, all this. No. It comes from us. It comes from Malcolm sitting on the fucking corner in Harlem. And it's like, here is Walter Rodney's How Europe Underdeveloped Africa. Here is Du Bois's Black Reconstruction. These books weren't in the colleges. Yeah. We brought those books to the colleges. We created our own curriculum in the streets. Those were the Black Panther reading guides. They have it online. You can just look it up. A list of books to read. You had to read them if you were going to be a Black Panther. I don't know what these neoliberal Black Panthers talk about and the Woman King and all that. That is not what we're talking about. T'Challa is not what we're talking about. We're talking about studying, revolutionary studying, And then when it came time to create Black studies in higher education institutions, we took that knowledge and we're like, okay, let's base the curriculum off of what we already have here, not someone else coming in and telling us how to be. So that's what the history tells us.
You are right. Thank you so much. Um, I always, that's also something I continue to forget, is how grassroots creating education curriculum was. And you're right, we put those into colleges. They weren't necessarily there. And that goes back to access completely. My next question for you, Michael, and to everybody, open us up to anybody who'd like to answer. So what can education without financial, curriculum, and racial bias look like? What does it look like now? I think, something that Michael was kind of speaking on the lines of is taking a point from the Black Panthers of 1969 and what that looks like. It can be implemented in so many different ways today. That's one of my first steps there, but I'm not aware of them all.
Yeah, I guess education without the bias would look like a lot more, I don't know, variety in education. It's still going to be, fact-based, evidence-based. We're not going to have debates on whether the earth is round or flat. I'm not talking about that kind of diversity, but but having multiple different perspectives and sources for things like, for example, history, where you see a history curriculum that's often built by the victors, by white people, by straight people, by Christians. Having history that is written from different perspectives so that we can gain a better idea of the truth. Because, with when history is written and when you only have these oral or written histories, you don't have primary sources, you're going to get inaccuracies. That's just the way it goes. And I don't know, that's something I've been thinking about because I watched The Woman King, and then there's been a lot of debate online about the role of the Dahomey kingdom in the slave trade. And it's pretty well documented. For example, it's pretty well documented that they were a major player in the slave trade, but at the same time, a lot of the sources that we have from the colonizer perspective are very uncharitable. They have no reason to be charitable. So you rely on the resources of the descendants, right? But when you're passing down things orally through it from descendant to descendant or written from descendant to descendant, it's like a game of telephone where some things get a little bit out of doing. So not just relying on the colonizers and slave traders thing of history, looking at what are the people in modern day Benin saying, what are the people that they talk to saying, back in the day. So things like that, I think. And giving people a sense of financial bias. I think giving people a sense of financial literacy, which is something that we don't really see in undergrad, unless you go into something specialized, you don't really see financial literacy, which, in an anti-capitalist society, in a socialist society, that would look a lot different. But in the society that we have now, when I was growing up, my big financial thing was, oh, you save and then you spend. You save this so you can spend this later. And when you become an adult, you learn that things aren't that simple because you have accidents, you have, you have credit card debt, you have stuff like that, redlining, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So
can I make a statement too?
yeah, go ahead.
I feel like I'm kind of picking back off of what you're saying. And as you're an adult, it's like you start leveling up a little bit. You're like, wait a minute, I didn't even know that was a thing you can actually buy. And,
Yeah. Yeah,
exactly.
exactly. So making the learning curve not as steep for when you become an adult and become in charge of your own finances. So yeah, that's just some things that are off the top of my head.
It was great.
Yeah, I think on the topic of we're talking. Sorry, remind me of your name one more time. It just says
Miyako.
VR.
Oh yeah, sorry, I'm under
Miyako.
Heather's
Okay.
Heather's account. So
Miyako.
Miyako.
Yeah, Miyako, you were talking about not just teaching anything, and I think there is this historical difference between this call for scientific objectivity, which is not what we want, versus like what you described, which was rigor. Like we want to keep all the rigor and the rigorousness. You talk about not like being flat earthers and things like that. Like we're going to make sure that when we study, it's very rigorous, but we're not studying objectively. We have a purpose in mind. There's a goal in mind when we do study. And when we talk about lack of bias, I think I do want a bias. I want a bias. I want a pro people bias. Biases are good. I don't want a prejudice against, but bias, I want a bias, towards liberation. I want a bias towards a clear political analysis of what we're in. I want a bias that is pro-Black feminist, anti-male supremacy. I want a bias that looks at capitalism. We can't really he's discussed financial literacy, and I think we need to be very clear with our words, financial bias. What does that mean? When we strip them apart, almost nothing, but we know other words like classism, and classism is, okay, that's close, but what does that mean? Kind of nothing, because it could look like a lot of different things. But then we get into more clearer words that help us analyze and helped me, because I was using classism, and I was like, yeah, no, I know what I'm talking about. But then I heard a lot of people say classism, and we were not agreeing. But people can agree about capitalism, because we know what capitalism does. Capitalism is a system, and we can look at that system to understand the limits of financial literacy, especially when there's an airplane flying by. So excuse me if you can't hear me. That shows the limits of the push for financial literacy and this building of what they call human capital towards Black people in particular, and Black students in Black schools. You cannot financial literacy your way out of racial capitalism. Poverty is quite purposeful. There's a majority of us need to be in I'm talking about abject poverty in order for people to make it, right? So the only financial literacy that we can really have is one that teaches us about capitalism and how to undo capitalism. Everything else is just a rat race. You're going to have the Jay-Z's talking about Black capitalism, but it's just like, we can't listen to that. We have to listen to the Fred Hamptons. We have to listen to the Angela Davis and say, you got to fight capitalism with socialism. We've seen it, and just scientifically, it won't work. The majority of us will be poor, no matter what we do. Great examples with what you said, Miyako. Is the save, and then and then Donnell was like, when you get to an adult, you don't even know there's some things that you're buying that you need to buy, and it's just like, okay, what sorry, someone's calling me. And then you brought up the history of redlinings, like who has access to buy these things? Why do we want to buy these things? So there's the marketing, and there's the advertising of products, but then there's scarcity. Capitalism, what it does is it creates false scarcity. It puts prices on things that are not that expensive,
Yes.
like water,
Mhm.
like land, right? Things you should not have to buy, things you have a human right to actually, they put a price on, right? So we need to address that. The ideas of credit scores determine whether or not you can live. At the base of everything we're talking about, whether or not you can live and whether or not you can eat. And you have government officials making these decisions. We need an education that looks at that and being like, that is actual violence,
Mm.
right? I love Ruth Wilson Gilmore's definition of racism because she says it's premature vulnerability to death, the creation of group category-based premature vulnerability to death. And when we say things like, oh, good credit, no, we're talking about our vulnerability to dying.
Mm.
We say things like blood pressure and da da da. We're talking about our vulnerability to dying. So when we're looking at the stakes like that, it's not about, what you need to do is get the side hustle. No, 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 no. What we need to do is redistribute the resources. There can be no billionaires on this planet while people are impoverished. There can be no individual. There could be no, oh, you need to learn the finance to get your money. No, no, no. The money is there. There is no scarcity. The wealth is being hoarded by 1% of the people in this country. They need to redistribute. Any conversation beyond that, you're on a hamster wheel. We do not do hamster wheel discussions, right? And too many people have studied it. People that we respect, Malcolm X, anywhere where there's capitalism, there is racism, right? We don't do hamster wheel things. I was on a hamster wheel and I'm grateful for people like Robin Kelly who were able to be like, this is what it is actually. And this greater thing relies on countries like my country, Jamaica. It relies on places like the Congo. It relies on places like India, giving us free labor, right? Without those, there is no come up game where you could do your t-shirt game or whatever, that things come from places, and those places have people who with lesser labor laws who can be extracted from faster. And I think that needs to come into him when we're talking about anything about talking to children about financial literacy. It is quite a dead end subject, and I'm sorry if I sound pretentious.
No, it's really important.
And we should not be. I try to like dead every time I go into a space and we go towards a financial literacy thing. I think a great book is called is Jared Ball's book. It's called The Myth and Propaganda of Black Buying Power. It's quite clear language about this myth, and that was created by President Nixon to quell protests. This idea of the Black buying power, this idea of Black capitalism, which was really just a ploy to give a Black consumer market to white advertising dollars, right? A lot of this idea of Black excellence is laced in Black capitalism, which is another hamster wheel. A lot of times, so I'm like careful when I say Black excellence, because I'm like, Black excellence is Assata Shakur, not Michelle Obama. I'm preaching to the choir, y'all know this, but it's just like, I think we need to be very vigilant with our language because people can use our words and distort them to mean something that we do not mean.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I hear you, Michael. Thank you so much. Just going to remind our viewers out there that Michael just referenced the myth and propaganda of Black buying power by Jared Ball. Thank you so much. I think that's so important that we all understand that, especially in these times when we're trying to really find out how we help each other out. That is really important. Thank you. I guess these next two, I'm going to try to group together and for everybody, opening it up to everyone, if you will. But yeah, Michael, what's to kind of like cap our conversation? What should every member of our community do about education access, and what action item can we pursue? And then, yeah, let's stick to those. What can we all do to help each other with education access.
I'll say that we all know intuitively what's going on in our schools, and we can very clearly see the divides, even if we don't have words for them. I think a major issue right now that we can get behind is defunding school police to the purpose of abolishing school police. What defunding school police does is it opens up resources. That's great. Like, that's a great fight. I love that fight because it's giving people, here's the school budget, here's half of it gone to the school police, the SRO, whatever you want to call it, school resource officer. These are people with guns. These are anti-Black people with guns patrolling kids, giving them, at least in Los Angeles, a disproportionate amount of detentions that lead to arrest are Black boys, Black girls here in Los Angeles. I'm not in Los Angeles right now. I'm in Portland, Oregon. Very white place, different energy, but I'll be back in LA. And what defunding the school does is like it opens up those resources for things like, ethnic studies courses, where we can do some of this curricular healing that needs to go down. I think police do not belong in schools. Police do not belong in schools, period. We're going to do one thing in these next couple of years. Any young person that we see saying, get the cops out of our schools, give them money, amplify their voice, anything. If you see a Black person that says, I like the cops in our schools, they're misguided. Treat them with grace. Don't bash them. Just give them the facts. This is what, no one's being protected. We see the cops in Uvalde fail to protect the elementary school, Robb Elementary. Police do not protect us at all. And they do not belong in schools, and they do not belong to literally steal from educational budgets. That is educational violence, literally, and economic violence towards Black teachers, Black students, Black parents, and poor students, white poor students, poor Latinos, right? Poor Indigenous communities, right? Take police out of schools. And stop standardized testing. Those two things would be great.
Yeah, I'm all for taking the standardized testing out. At least a different, we need a new version of it, or just something that's optional or don't exist at all.
Yeah, really.
To a certain degree.
All right. So how can people learn more about you? And is there anything you'd like to plug?
I am on Instagram at Find Your Rhythm. I'll just type it out here in the chat. Find Your Rhythm with 2 M's at the end of rhythm. And I'm on Twitter at Michael, the student without any vowels. So that's me. The first one is the Instagram. The second one is the Twitter. I just released an article on Medium, like literally an hour ago or two, about this, and it's on the Twitter, and it's on my Instagram story. It's about the new Pinocchio movie. I think it's very important to watch the movies that our children are watching and see what themes and ideas are being there. There's no such thing as an apolitical movie. So all movies are some kind of ideological message, and we need to be able to examine those messages with our children. So this one was about education and the anti-abolitionist propaganda within the Pinocchio movie. That is quite apparent as you start watching it. The kids they get to this pleasure island, and Pinocchio is watching all these kids do very bad things. So it's like, okay, what are the bad things? The bad things are protesting. The bad things are, breaking clocks, sort of like representative of like being lazy and like worker centered amidst. So none of these things like mean anything, but they mean something when you put this movie out in September 2022, when we see mass labor strikes, when we see mass protests. you have this ride where the kids are, it's called degrading school, where these kids are like just ruining the school. But like put it together, you see like, oh, this is a very like, this is like a fever dream of what the right wing sees when they see us making demands for no police in schools. Because this place that Pinocchio goes to, they make a note, they're like, oh, there's no cops here. That's why everything is in disarray and everybody's going crazy. And look, they're breaking all the clocks and they're breaking down the schools and
Oh, wow.
there's no order here, you know? And it's just like, alone, it's a kid's movie. But when you put things like that, those subtle things, we need what I teach and what I'm about to teach this quarter at UCLA, critical media literacy. You know, we need that ability to look at the movies that we love, look at the shows that we love, Real Lives of Atlanta, Hollywood, whatever, fuck. Look at all these shows and be like, all right, I can enjoy it, but I can also critique it, right? And I can distill what I need to distill. And it's so important that we can do that in front of people who are 4, 5, 6, 7 years old. So that's what I just put out. Still working on my dissertation, obviously, and I don't know when that'll be out, probably like 2025. But that's me. Thank you all for having me and listening to me.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. This was really great. This was great. It gave me a lot to think about.
We always love having you on, Michael. Thank you so much. I doubt that this will be the last time. You are so insightful, and I feel.
Do you all do stage performances? Like
we're trying to. 2023 definitely. We'll see about the end of 2022 because yeah, it's still the
pandemic. I want to see
out.
y'all perform because that sounded interesting. The whole grandma and son in Tokyo situation.
Okay, yeah, we're trying to make it work. So I'll let you know. All right,
so much, Michael. We really appreciate you, and we'll follow these your Instagram, Find Your Rhythm with 2 M's, and your Twitter, Michael the Student, with your mediums, which I'm looking forward to reading, brother. Thank you.
All right. And thank you so much to everybody out there who has been watching or listening to us. We're Black Revolutionary Theater Workshop. So you can find us on Facebook at Black Revolutionary Theater Workshop. That's theater spelled with an R-E. You can find us on Twitter at the BRTW. We're at Insta at the BRTW as well. And if you want to donate, there are ways to donate you can find out on our website, which is thebrtw.com or .org? Hold on.
Org.
Thank you, .org, thebrtw.org. So if you go there, you can definitely find ways to donate, help us out. We would really appreciate it. And if you have any, if you are, or if you know any wonderful Black artists, creatives, administrators, graphic designers, volunteers, please reach out to us. You can find our contact information at thebrtw.org. Thank you so much and have a great Melanated Monday. Bye.
See you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you.